Hamas as hostages for weeks. Her mother, Aviva, was freed as part of a hostage release deal in November. Her dad, Keith Siegel, still a captive of Hamas terrorists inside the Gaza Strip. Thank you so much for being with me here in I-24 News, Elan. I appreciate how brave you are to be willing to speak out here. What is your message here to the Israeli government? We've heard the Prime Minister Netanyahu say the war is slow. It may go on until 2025, but this is the best way to preserve civilians in Gaza alive, to protect Palestinian lives, innocent Palestinians, and also protect our soldiers the best we can. It has to be slow, but it will go on for a year. What do you say?
I really don't know what to say about this whole situation. As a kid that grew up in Kibbutz Kfar Aza, I can say that over 20 years, we don't feel safe at our homes. We never thought something like the October 7th will happen, but it happened, and I feel, and I'm sure that Bibi and the government needs to take responsibility, bring those 136 hostages, innocent people that weren't meant to be at this place, back home.
Do you think that Hamas is even willing to release the hostages, men like your father and others who are held inside Gaza, even if the war was to stop, even if Israel stops fighting? What makes you hope or believe that Hamas would be even willing to release these Israelis?
There are some days that I believe, and there are some days that I don't. Really, I don't know what to believe anymore. But I have to keep the hope that my dad will come back home, and those kids and sons and sisters and uncles will come back home, because I really feel that Israel will never, never be the same if those innocent people won't come home.
Do you think that this war is worth continuing to fight? Is it worth fighting Hamas, destroying Hamas, or at this point, there's no longer morality, justice in fighting the war continued?
Well, I'm not an officer and I don't serve the army, so I don't know. But I do know that we suffered from Hamas for over 20 years. And now when there are our people inside Gaza, I think it's the time to bring them home and then deal with Hamas and everything else. I think first, and like the top priority should have to be to bring those hostages back home.
Elan, you are a daughter who hasn't seen her father in 4 months. You don't know how he is doing, where he is now, if he's eating, if he's okay. Tell me what you miss about your dad. Tell me what you miss about him, and what you could tell him if he could listen to you right now.
So my dad has like a really peaceful and calm energies. No matter where he's at and what he's doing, you always feel like at peace and safe when he's nearby. And if he hears me, I want to tell him that, Abba, you should stay strong, and we're doing everything we can to get you home. We think about you all the time, sending you good energies to survive. And there's so many people that love you and wait for you to come home.
Have you heard from Prime Minister Netanyahu or the other members of the war cabinet? Have they reached out to you to talk? Are they in contact with you to see how you are doing?
Not from the war cabinet or from Bibi.
How do you feel about that? That your dad is a hostage, or one of, that your mom was a hostage, that you're not, how do you feel about the government's response as people to the Israelis who are suffering?
I have to say that in the few hours and even days, I was sure that the government is doing and will do whatever they can to get my dad and the other hostages back home. I was really confident that it will happen in a matter of hours at the beginning. But as the time goes by and we're now over 100 days, I don't know what to think about me as a person who lives here, about my children, their future here, and how can I make them feel safe in their own country if their grandpa is in Gaza and like we don't feel like something is moving right now.
What do you tell your children when they ask you, are we safe? Are we going to be safe? As a mom and as a daughter who misses her dad, how do you answer your own children now?
To them, I say the most positive answer, and like tell them they don't really ask big questions like how can we feel safe, but they do ask about their grandpa. And I say that I'm sure that he's like thinking about us and misses us and keep the hope of him coming back soon. And they're kids, so that's all I can say, that I believe in the government and the army to bring them all back home.
Elan, is there anything else that you want to share with us, a message or a story that you want to reach the world?
I want to say that as a person living in this world and in this country, I really want to ask the world leaders to act and to speak out and to do their job as leaders, because leaders are chosen because we want the world to be a good place to live in and to raise kids in. So each and every leader that goes to sleep these days knowing that my dad and 135 more innocent people are in the dark and getting skinnier at every moment and live in such fear are not doing their job if they can sleep at night.
Elan